Hello, everyone. This is Charles Berman from the Most Important People in the World podcast, presenting another archive interview that I did several years ago on the radio on WHRW, on the Bronze Age radio program. And this is with Michael Menkin, the developer of the Alien Thought Control Prevention Hat, which I thought was a very important subject, if in fact it does what it says it does. I think that it's important to address that a lot of people have unfair criticisms of people like Michael Menkin. They say that he makes tinfoil hats. In fact, the hats are leather. So let's take a listen to this episode of the Bronze Age Radio with Michael Menkin, and stay tuned to the channel for more interviews with interesting people on the Most Important People in the World podcast.
The Bronze Age of Radio, starring Charles Berman as Chris, played by Charles Berman. WHRW Binghamton's only program, airing at this time on this radio station. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, to the Bronze Age of Radio. I am, as sometimes, the one, the many, Chris, played by Charles Berman. I also have here in the studio, kind enough to be with me,
cult icon and celebrity in no less than 6 states of existence, America's heartthrob, Trent Sweetheart.
And not only that, but also...
Sadly, I don't have to give myself the title America's Heartthrob, but I am the one and only Spode.
That's right. China's heartthrob, Spode.
Well, yes, that's right. There can only be one America's heartthrob, or there be some sort of numerical ranking system.
Now, we have a very important interview, and we should dispense with all this witty banter to get right to it, because he's been waiting patiently on the phone. It is the one and only Professor Michael Menkin. Are you there, sir?
I am there, yes.
Now... you're the proprietor of a couple of websites, and we should just first of all explain what those websites are and what they're about. One of them is to do with aliens and children, am I right?
That's right.
And the other one deals with alien thought control helmets.
That's right.
So perhaps we should begin with the thought control helmets.
Okay, that's going to give you the name of the site?
Mm-hmm. Oh, of course.
It's called stopabductions.com. It's a public service non-profit site that is written for people who believe that they are being abducted by aliens from space, and it has instructions on how to make a hat that stops alien thought or alien telepathy, which is effective in stopping aliens from taking people. And it has step-by-step instructions with photographs, a list of tools, skills required, and where you can buy the materials. Now, I don't have any financial relationship with any of the sources I give, but I do give sources. And that's basically the whole site. It does have some additional information on telepathy, where the idea of the helmet came from. It comes from the novels of the science fiction writer E. Doc Smith. In his Gray Lensman series, Smith wrote about telepathy extensively, and he had his hero wear what he called a thought screen to stop telepathic communication and control. And really what I did is I made fiction into reality. I made a real thought screen. I actually found people who had abduction experiences, made hats with different materials, until I came upon a material that worked. And I still make hats and send them to people for free all over the world. I have people in Australia, the Republic of South Africa, England, Sweden, Austria, all wearing hats that I made for them. Mm-hmm. So I still do make those hats, and I've learned something about alien technology in the process of making hats, and I expect to do more research.
Professor Menkin, this is Trent Sweetheart. I have a quick question.
Sure.
You said there was a list of skills necessary to create these helmets. What are those skills?
Not a whole lot. You have to be able to use the scissors. You've got to be able to make a pattern when you make the hat. You've got to have a certain amount of dexterity because you've got to fit the Velostat into a hat and pull it over your head and tape it up. But it's really pretty simple and easy to make. You can make them even better by heating the material with a hair dryer and then actually putting it warm over your head and molding it to your head. I don't have those instructions in the site because I don't want anybody to get burned.
Yes, how dangerous is that?
Well, I do it all the time, but I have a good head of hair, and actually if it's too hot to put over my head, it's too hot.
Well, could hairspray or gel make that process more dangerous?
No, I don't think so. No, it would just goop up the Velostat. That's all.
Well, can I just ask quickly, what exactly are the materials that are involved in the helmet that protects you from alien thought control?
Basically, it's 8 sheets of a 3M carbonized plastic called Velostat, a leather hat, and duct tape, and that's really it.
And is it these materials individually?
Any kind of a hat that will hold 8 sheets of the Velostat over your head will work. Doesn't have to be a leather hat, but you can sleep in the hat and it's easy to use. But I've used ski hats. I also make baseball caps, women's caps. I've even made a cowboy hat with Velostat in it.
Mm-hmm. Now, why do you think it is that Velostat and leather and duct tape can combine in this way to prevent alien thought control?
It's only you can have a cloth hat or a vinyl hat. It doesn't make any difference. I've also made hats where I sew the Velostat to the hat. I don't use duct tape.
So
the
it's just the Velostat.
has unique electrical properties. It has impedance, and it does not hold a static charge. It grounds very easily. We now believe that the Velostat does not stop the communication, it scrambles it. Because Velostat has impedance, which other materials do not have, we think it effectively changes the frequency of the signal. It, so to speak, changes the channel. So even if the aliens increase their transmission, it's still garbled and they can't reach their victim.
I see. Now, how exactly is it that we know that these hats are necessary? In other words, how do we know that aliens are controlling people's minds?
Well, they do take them despite efforts to stop them. There are many accounts people have of being taken and having reproductive procedures done to them on board their craft. I know because I've had several people who have worn the helmet and forgotten to wear it, and the alien hybrids, they're human-like creatures, actually came and beat these people in anger. I've had people who were wearing the helmets who were intimidated by aliens. I've had a woman who was told that they would kill her pet dog if she didn't stop wearing the hat, and they killed her dog, and she took the dog to the vet, and the vet said the spinal cord was cut internally, and he couldn't figure out how that happened. So I have accounts from both children and adults being harassed by aliens who are trying to wear the hat or wearing the hat that indicate that it does indeed work. And I'm the only investigator with these kind of accounts.
Now, Professor Menkin, does this hat only block out alien telepathy, or will it block out human telepathy as well?
I can't say that. First of all, I'm not a professor. I only have a BA degree.
Okay.
I'm a technical writer. I do have one woman who had a baby who was wearing the hat, and she said she could sense the baby, and when she wore the hat, she could not do that. But that's the only comment about human thought that I have. And our understanding of that is very crude, although people have written books on it. There was a book written by Upton Sinclair, I think, called Mental Radio. He was interested in that.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no way we have of measuring that, so our understanding of that is very little. Actually, the helmet has given somewhat of an understanding of it.
Now, this might be the answer might be obvious, but I'm just not seeing it. Why is it that if aliens are aware that people are making thought control helmets, why wouldn't they control people's thoughts not to make the helmet?
They do.
I see.
I have people who I send the hat to and I never hear from them, or people who get very discouraged who are making the hat, or once you wear the hat, you got to start. You got to keep wearing the hat. I've been doing this for 9 years, and to a certain extent, the success of the hat is due to the constitution of the wearer. It is a fight, and I tell people that they are going to have a fight, and the tough people who want to fight succeed, but the people who don't have that kind of a constitution fail. And I had a woman in Australia say that she can't do it anymore. She can't wear the hat all the time, and she's very discouraged. And I had a man in Kentucky tell me the same thing after wearing the hat and saying it worked, but he couldn't handle the whole situation. And I have other people who've been wearing it almost night and day for 9 years.
Mm-hmm.
So it depends on the person.
Now, do you think that everybody needs an alien thought control hat, or is it just people who think that maybe aliens have been in their lives and are trying to control their lives?
Well, that's a good question. Actually, I would say it's a good idea for everybody to have one. There's a very small percentage of the population who's actually been abducted, but there's a possibility it could happen, and it's kind of like having a fire extinguisher in your house. It certainly wouldn't hurt to have one.
Right.
And they're not expensive, and they're easy to make.
I guess I'm a little vain. What colors do these hats come in?
Any color you want. The leather hats that I purchase are in black or brown, but I had a woman in Montana I made a hat for, and she asked me could she paint it pink, and I said sure. Women's hats are in all colors. I just go to the local department store and get what I think is a nice-looking hat. Baseball caps, I usually make red and blue, but I made tan and white. Doesn't make any difference.
Now, if you paint these hats, will it alter the effectiveness of the Velostat?
Not if you paint the outside, no.
Right, right.
So the inside must be left untainted.
That's true, but you can put felt cloth in it and put it over your head if it's hot.
Oh, thank God.
And that doesn't seem to affect it, and long hair doesn't seem to affect it either.
Oh, good, good.
What about baldness?
I don't ask people I send the hats to if they're bald or not, but I don't think it would make a difference. The only drawback of the hat is that it's hot to wear in the summer. The Velostat is like an insulator. As a matter of fact, I tell people don't wear it over 85 degrees.
Well, that's a small price to pay to avoid alien thought control.
No.
I mean, how if I don't trust my own alien thought control hat making abilities, how would I go about procuring one from you? And don't give a specific price because we can't.
I have a list of people. I have a long list. I do require a phone number from people, and I do interview them. I try to interview them twice, and I use the criteria that Professor Jacobs has on his site. And not everybody gets a hat. You know, if you can't convince me you're being abducted, I'm not going to make a hat for you. And I also have people who want it as a toy or a souvenir,
right,
and they don't get a hat either.
Oh. Now, how would you go about making sure that somebody is really being abducted and not just kind of playing at being abducted?
Dave Jacobs has a questionnaire on his site, and I think it's a pretty good one. And there are basic questions that he asks. For example, have you ever dreamt of being in a hospital? Do you have periods of missing time? Do you ever awake with some kind of figure in your bed and you can't figure out what it is? Have you ever seen a UFO? Have you ever had some kind of odd displacement in time where you found yourself in a different place than you were an hour ago and couldn't account for it? People usually give the same, people who are abducted usually give the same accounts. Also, they have dreams about UFOs or unusual babies or some kind of alien-type figure. Often people either repress memories or their short-term memory is cut off by aliens, but their experience surfaces in dreams, and people have similar dreams.
I have a somewhat related question. Is there any evidence to suggest that animals have been abducted?
Not that I know of, no.
So there are no dog helmets then?
No, I don't think that's ever happened, no.
Do you think that the aliens know about the helmets?
Yes, they do.
Have you been approached in a
No.
menacing manner?
The aliens have taken 10 helmets.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
From your
did-
residence?
Yeah.
Yeah, from abductees. As a matter of fact, now I tell people to keep the helmet in a locked cabinet when they're not wearing it, because the aliens will go all through the house looking for the helmet, but they won't go through something that they can't easily open.
Now, since the aliens, I'm afraid that they might test it and find a way around it.
They haven't been able to do that. They've even cut pieces off from the inside of a hat. I've had them do that to an abductee. They've cut the outside leather pieces, and they've taken, by last count, I think 10 hats. No, they're very upset with the hat because the Velostat has impedance, and the conductive properties of the Velostat evidently change the frequency of the signal. So they can't, let's say if you're broadcasting at a certain frequency and the hat changes that frequency, you can't do that. You can't compensate for the shift.
Right.
It's still going to put a shift in it. So whatever you do, the signal is still scrambled.
Now,
so they really hate the hat.
Now, sir, we were trying to bring up the website of the questionnaire that you mentioned. What's that address?
It's UFOabduction.com, and I can't remember exactly where it is. It's a little difficult to navigate on Jacob's website.
Okay.
But the questionnaire is, let's see.
Oh, we have it here.
UFO abduction questionnaire.
We have it here.
Okay.
Now, what do you think? What do you think it is that the aliens are looking for? They're coming to Earth and they're controlling people's minds all over the world.
Right. The aliens are creating another race. The aliens are taking sperm from men and eggs from women and using it to mix their own genes, what Bud Hopkins calls transgenics, and create a hybrid that is mainly human but somewhat alien. And that is the main purpose of abducting humans, and mainly what they do.
Well, how can this be possible if these aliens aren't of the same species as humans?
Evidently, they've been able to do that. They're masters at genetics, and they've been working on it, what we think, over 100 years. Now, they're not perfect. They still have problems with their genetics. As a matter of fact, I just talked to a woman who didn't wear her hat one night, and the aliens showed her one child they said was hers, and it had a deformed arm, but they said that they could fix the deformity. So they're not, a lot of them are not physically sound, and from our accounts, they're also emotionally unstable. But they're getting pretty human. I had an experience, or a person who had hybrids, and they did take the helmet off of her. The human ones can do that, but the aliens can't. And she said they look and act pretty human. Mm-hmm. But they do have telepathic abilities.
Now, why is this race being created?
We think that they're going to colonize our planet with these hybrids.
Mm.
If you go to my other site, Aliens and Children,
right.
I have a section, The Mystery of the Little Black Box. The aliens come out of their spaceship and they have a little black box. I'm not sure how big it is, but it's kind of like a shoebox. They show that to people, point to it, and communicate something like, "Isn't this wonderful?" And then they go back in their spacecraft and take off. Well, it took us 30 years to figure out what's in the box. And the box contains a live fetus that is half human and half alien.
Mm.
And they plan on replacing the human race with their own race. That's what they are actually in the process of doing.
This sounds very, very dangerous.
It is the greatest threat to the human race in its entire history. Dave Jacobs has a book on it called The Threat. The aliens plan some final event They now have their hybrids integrating into our society. The woman who tried the hat and had it taken from her was teaching them how to drive her SUV in the middle of the night. So they are learning how we do things, and I'm not sure what they're going to do, but they're either going to take over or dominate us and get rid of a lot of us.
Mm-hmm. Now, if indeed this is what's going on, it sounds like the greatest threat to humanity in history. It sounds like possibly the end of the human race.
Absolutely. That's why I'm doing this. That's why I'm motivated.
How
it is the greatest threat to the human race. If the aliens succeed, we're dead. That's what I say on my site. There's no more humans if they succeed.
How advanced do you think the aliens' plans are? I mean, how many alien hybrids do you think? Give us a rough estimate.
How long do we have?
I'd say, I'm sure it's in the next 10, 15 years, because I have several abductees who are nurses, and they are trained to be pilots, believe it or not, of their craft. Evidently, the aliens have a shortage of pilots, as bizarre as it sounds. And these nurses are in their 50s. And if they're going to use these nurses for some kind of procedure with their craft, it's got to be before they're 70.
Yeah.
Is there any way for an average person to identify an alien hybrid when they meet one?
Bud Hopkins has some pictures in his book, Sight on Scene, and I talked to a woman who actually had an affair with one. She said the only hair it had was on its head. They wear what Bud Hopkins says are cheap wigs. So they're essentially bald, and they have cheap wigs and sunglasses because their eyes aren't quite human.
Right.
So they would, if you see one with what looks like a cheap wig, that's a man or woman that's not very good, and sunglasses, there is a possibility they could be a hybrid.
What should we do?
If you don't have a helmet, you can't do anything because they're mentally much stronger than you are.
Now, I mean, here's kind of
unless you want to shoot one with a gun and see if you can get out of being tried for murder.
Would it be normal-looking blood?
Probably.
Right. It's just the sunglasses and the wig would tell you that.
That's all and they might have very fine bones, but that's all that I know of. Yes.
So an autopsy would not reveal a difference then.
I think an autopsy would. They would have smaller bones or thinner bones. There might be other differences. From what I understand, they can still eat by absorbing food through their skin. So their skin would certainly be different than our skin.
Well, that sounds like it would not taste as good. But still do the job. Now, here's this kind of a practical question. The human race within 10 or 15 years is going to face destruction at the hands of these aliens.
They're planning on doing something,
right.
Yes. That's why I'm doing this. That's why StopAbductions.com is up, and that's why it's a terse site and it loads fast.
Now, the alien mind control helmets are good, and they will stop whoever can make the helmets from the aliens controlling their minds. But what else can we do? I mean, apart from getting whatever fraction of the community we can to get mind control hats.
Well, what if a person has to deal with a no hat at work policy? How can they protect themselves?
They can't do anything.
Right.
That's happened to me. People tell me that.
Do you think
that children can't wear hats in school? I have a case where a girl was taken in school at lunch, and it's documented. It happened more than once, and the authorities were very upset because they couldn't find her anywhere. And then an hour later, she appeared.
What do you think these no hat policies might be the result of the aliens' manipulations?
No, I think that there are still dress codes in school, and kids lose hats. They throw hats. It's a general school policy.
So it's just a bizarre and unlikely coincidence.
Yeah.
But by the way, near the top of the hour, this is WHRW, Binghamton, New York. So apart from getting mind control hats, which, I mean, good as they are, it might be hard to get them out to a large percentage of the whole 6 billion people on the planet. within the next 10 to 15 years. I mean, it's important, but it's a challenge.
Right.
What else can we do to help stop the invasion?
Well, I think the main thing we can do is try to make people aware of what's going on, and if more people are aware of what's going on, we might be able to get some real evidence.
Now,
I hope that's something that happens.
Now, do you have a wish list of people who you think it is imperative receive these hats for the preservation of humankind?
No, I have no such wish list.
So you don't think like certain politicians should definitely have hats, or military commanders, etc.?
No, because they would. I think the aliens have some knowledge of the leaders. Bud Hopkins wrote a book, and he called Witnessed. And he says in 1989, the aliens made a presentation to the head of the UN.
This was secret, of course.
So are you suggesting?
Well, it was secret, but this person does know about it. It was more than one person in the UN who was involved, but they're not telling anybody.
Well, are you suggesting that certain elites within world governments may be in collusion with these aliens?
No, I don't. We don't know what they really did. There are all kinds of tales on the internet and books on it, but we really don't have any evidence. Stanton Friedman has a good book, Magic, where he has good documentation. But the documentation has to be very thorough to be believable. And in the UFO community, there are charlatans, people just trying to make money. There are people making claims who can't back up their claims. So it's difficult to ascertain what's really going on.
Right. Now, what would you say? Well, actually, tell us, what would you say that your other website, Aliens and Children, focuses mainly on in this endeavor?
Aliens and Children has pictures, drawings made by children who were abducted by aliens, and after wearing the hat for 6 months, they started remembering what happened to them. So it has drawings of their experiences, drawings of aliens being taken by aliens, different kinds of aliens. It's revealing because it has, not only does it have drawings of alien hybrids, it has drawings of babies.
What did you mean by different kinds of aliens? Are you referring to different alien races?
There seems to be different alien races. There are snakeskin aliens that are also involved in this. I do have one case of a woman being visited by both gray and snakeskin aliens, and I also have people wearing hats who report very different kinds of aliens.
What would be some examples?
One person is actually in radio. He's a radio producer, and he claims to be abducted by aliens that are tall, have a distinct smell, and a distinct language, and they look different than, they have small eyes, not large eyes, and he has been wearing the hat 24/7 for years. And he says it works.
Now, we're looking actually here in the studio at some of these drawings.
Very disturbing.
Yes.
The drawings are very frightening. I mean, I have to have a page describing the drawings. It still upsets me to see the drawings, and they've been up for some time now.
Now, why is it important that these drawings be by children? As opposed
it's
to
not
adults?
important, but the only thing we have, and the children remember it, and the drawings are so extensive. The mother sent me over 150 drawings. I decided to put them up. The drawings are important because they give us a window of real alien activity, even though it's a window of a 5-year-old girl or a 6-year-old girl. We can still get a better understanding of what they do. For one thing, they put children and adults and their hybrids in a vat of some oxygenated liquid. And why we do this, I have no idea.
Now,
why
sir,
they do that.
I'm a little unclear on a point that hopefully you can clarify for me. If the purpose of this is creating a new race, and they're obviously gathering up fertile people, why are they gathering up children who cannot reproduce?
Okay, they are gathering up children for several reasons. They actually have human children play with their hybrid children to teach the hybrid children how to be human.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
And so if you have a child and he talks about a playmate and you think it's a fictional playmate, it may not be a fictional playmate. It may be a real playmate. Also, it appears that they're doing something else. It appears that they're trying to make us more like them, and they are trying to modify humans, and they start with modifying children. A lot of children are sick. That's my impression, although I don't have any strong evidence of that.
So possibly the plan may not be to eliminate all humans then?
Not to eliminate all humans, to use them as a genetic base. So they will keep humans as a genetic base,
right.
But they're going to dominate the planet. We will be solely second-class citizens. As a matter of fact, if you go to my site, the page of the Alien Plan for Humans, in the Alien Plan for Humans, the hybrid is telling the human that there's only going to be one purpose for them, and that purpose is reproductive for the aliens.
Why would the aliens tell humans this?
This was just some kind of a chance encounter where she questioned them, and they happened to tell her this one time, but they usually do not. They usually try to impress humans that they're benevolent when they really are not.
Well, could that have perhaps been a sympathetic alien? Perhaps not all of the aliens believe in this plan?
That may be true. Dave Jacobs says one of the problems with the human hybrids is they're still partly human and they still identify with humans. And the aliens actually can't control them 100%.
So the kinks haven't been worked out of this plan
No,
yet.
the kinks haven't been worked out. They're still emotionally unstable. I mean, if you're partly human and partly alien, you're not going to be you're going to be mentally unstable, I think.
Now, so you said this plan may have been going on for over 100 years. Could it be the? Do we have any idea of how long-lived these aliens are? Could this be, in fact, the same aliens that are orchestrating this plan, or is it the next generation?
This may be true. Dave Jacobs says that they have traced this back to about 1890, 1880. The reason the aliens are doing this, they think, is the aliens made themselves sterile, and the aliens can't reproduce, so they're planning to reproduce through humans.
Is there any pattern to the people they take?
There doesn't seem to be. The only pattern is that they abduct whole families. So they abduct the grandparents, the parents, and the children.
All at the same time?
Not all at the same time. Well, I do have one case where they're still abducting an 82-year-old grandmother, as well as the mother.
Now, why would they abduct someone who, at 82, is probably too old to reproduce?
They actually had her. They took her to a room of crying babies and wanted her to nurse and take care of their babies. And she was overwhelmed, and she didn't know what to do.
Well, it seems like they're not entirely sure how to take care of the things they're creating.
No, they really can't. Jacobs points this out. At first, their babies died, and they found that the babies had to have human interaction with mothers. So part of the abduction of humans is to actually act as mothers to their alien hybrids.
Well, why don't they just keep the people? Why return them?
They
a
want
large
to
number
keep
of people
their
go missing every
activity
year.
secret. So they only keep them for a fairly short time, although they take them frequently. But they go to great steps to keep their activity secret, and that's one reason why we've had problems proving this. For example, if you have a video camera on you with lights at night and it's got a long tape in it, they really try not to come in front of the video camera.
So
they sometimes manage to turn it off, but they go to great lengths not to be seen.
So another way you could potentially protect yourself is by leaving a running video camera.
Right, a
over
running
your
video
bed.
camera will work. I'm sorry I didn't mention that, but that will protect you.
Okay, so before we go, let's go over again, because basically what's going on is that the The aliens are planning to repopulate the Earth with hybrids between their own species and humans.
Right, that's right.
And they're going to finish this in like the next 15 years.
Right. In order to do this, they're abducting human beings.
Right, and taking reproductive samples from the humans. That's right.
The steps we should take are
about it and get the word out.
Right.
They are also very sensitive to odors.
Like what kind of odors?
So don't shower.
We're not sure what they're, but they
like
perfumes.
Garlic?
I've had several people who've stopped them with strong perfumes.
So should I not shower, or should I wear a lot of cologne?
Wear a lot of cologne.
Okay. And now again, if we want to find instructions on how to make the helmet or how to make the hat or more information about the aliens, your websites are
stopabductions.com. Now, it will soon be up in Italian and Portuguese.
Okay.
Oh, good.
Good. Because it is important to get this all around the world. There are 6 billion people in the world, and how many hats have been made?
I don't know. I only get maybe 2 or 3 emails a month from people who made hats, and that's people who actually email me. I get about 400 hits, 400 to 500 hits a day on stopabductions.com, and about 200 on aliens and children. But I couldn't tell you how many people have made hats.
Are you the main?
Wait a minute. I can tell you that when I went on the air in 2000, the Wolf Tracks that makes leather hats said his sales increased 5% after I went on the air, and he could only attribute it to radio, and that's before I had the website.
Ah,
So people went out and made the hat.
very good.
That's the power of radio.
Right.
So Michael Menkin, thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Good evening, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.